Hi, everybody. My name is Jason Vlad, and welcome to today's webinar, Getting Started with Camtasia. So happy you're here. I'm an instructional designer and master trainer here at TechSmith, and I've been here a little over 11 years, and I love presenting webinars and sharing this content with you. I'm going to be using Camtasia on a Windows machine. I am going to be using the brand new released Camtasia 2023, which was released 2 days ago, but this won't be focused on those cool features. That webinar is coming up soon. I'm actually going to be focused on getting you up and running inside of Camtasia. And with that being said, there's a couple of housekeeping items I'd like to go through before we get started. First, today's agenda. I'm going to be completely transparent with you, and we're going to try a new webinar approach today. Now, there's two camps of people that use Camtasia. Not that you can't use them both ways, but some 50% of the people use Camtasia to record their screen and then edit that video to share out with their colleagues, friends, family, whomever. And then there's another half, the other 50%, that use Camtasia to assemble a video based on existing content, whether it's videos, audio, music, PowerPoints. We're going to focus on that second style today, where we're going to assemble a video from existing content. If there's questions about recording, we can definitely see if we can cover those throughout the session later on, or direct you to existing webinars that we've already conducted that cover all of that in great detail. I'll do my best to give you some tips and tricks, and I actually have some friends that we'll talk about here that are here to help me out with some questions and answers later on. But the number one question we always get asked, is this webinar being recorded? Yes, today's webinar is being recorded, and you will get a link to that recording sent to the email that you use to register for this session. Of course, you can always go to techsmith.com/webinars, and there's a button there that says View Previous Sessions, and the entire recording library of every webinar that we've done in the last year and a half is there. And there's a really good chance that this one that you're in right now will be up there at some point this afternoon, as long as I can get that editing done. So that is available to you. You can watch it as many times as you want, share with colleagues and friends, people that missed the session, or people you think would get better general use out of that information. So share and share away. Now, I mentioned I have some friends with me. In the Q&A section down there at the bottom, I have some TechSmith thieves with me. I have Dave, Jacob, Melissa, Mia, Mike, and Robert. They're going to do their best to answer questions that you pose in that Q&A section. While they can't promise to answer every one of them, they will do their best. And if there's questions that might be really helpful for the greater group to see in a demonstration form, they'll send those over to me via our system we have here at TechSmith. And I also have it toggled on so you can also see the questions and answers. The chat is turned off for you fine folks, but we will use it to share information throughout the session as well. If you find it helpful, we've got live transcription toggled, where you can just click on the closed caption button there at the bottom, and it will allow you to turn on live transcription. Zoom does it automatically. They do a pretty good job. So join in and click that if you would find that to be most helpful. Last but not least, before we get into our session, I jumped out of presentation mode, but we have a free digital event coming up here at TechSmith, May 16th. It is our third iteration of our Level Up. This is a journey into clarity and communication at work. It's all focused on using Snagit for better communication at work. There's a lot of cool things happening at that event. I'm hosting it, so if you enjoy hearing my voice and sharing knowledge with me, I urge you to sign up for those. You can either use the QR codes on the screen or go to techsmith.com/levelup. All right, enough of that. Let's get into why we're here. We are going to be using Camtasia to assemble a video, and that video is going to be made up of some content that I already have existing on my computer, and we'll show you that here in just a second. Where we're going to start is with this. This is the home screen. If you've never launched Camtasia before and you're using any of our recent versions, you will launch into the home screen. And the home screen is a great place to start your projects, your discovery, and your learning. All that happens in here. Quick note, I will probably be toggling on and off my camera throughout today's presentation. If the camera's video on the screen is too big, there is a line on the Zoom webinar interface that allows you to click on it and drag to the right to make my camera smaller and the screen bigger. I have tried to scale up the screen to give you the most best view as we possibly can, but sometimes Zoom doesn't like us and it doesn't allow us to do that. So we'll try our best to make sure you can see everything that you can in today's session. All right, back to the home screen. So here's where you can start projects by clicking this new project button. You can actually start a project by using some of the built-in templates that we have inside of Camtasia. If you're already working on a project, you can open an existing project, or you can start a new recording by clicking this button. Now there is a little bit of a flyout here in this button. If you click on the arrow, and it will actually show you the three primary tools that we have here at TechSmith for creation: Camtasia, Audiate for audio recording, and Snagit. If you have those other products installed, you can actually launch their recorders or their capture states right here from the home hub inside of Camtasia. If you don't have those installed and this fly-in is closed, if you click on the new recording, it'll actually bring up the recorder inside of Camtasia. We're not recording today yet. We're going to build our video another way. In the home hub, there's lots of information. There's a Learn tab here, which allows you to go right to the quick start guide or the tutorials that the team that I'm on here, the customer education team we build. It teaches you all about different things you can use in Camtasia. You can go to our free 5-day challenge. You can go to our brand new projects page. What's cool about that is once you learn things here and today in our session about Camtasia, you can go to choose a project and you can do a free step-by-step project to practice different types of video to share what you've learned. We have got links to our support team, some of whom, Robert and Melissa specifically, are here to help out. They're part of the support team here at TechSmith. Awesome people. Our job is to make sure you feel most comfortable and successful using our software. And then there's the What's New button, including all the information on Camtasia 2023. We're not going to go through that today. There is a What's New webinar coming up. Make sure you check that out. All right, so let's go into our main project here, which is we're going to start by making a video and assembling content that we already have on our computer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on New Project, which I actually have open down here at the bottom. This brings up the Camtasia editor. Now, before we start the editing, I want to give you a quick tour of the editor, especially if you've never seen it before. The editor is broken up into 4 main components. Over here on the left, you have your media bin and all the tools associated with editing inside of Camtasia, including a library, annotations, visual effects, and we'll use some of these today in our video. You've got your canvas area here in the middle. The canvas is much like a painter's canvas. This is where you're going to visually see and assemble parts of your video, move things into place, shift things around. It's really helpful to have a visual guide as to what your video looks like, and we'll show you that in a second. On the right, you have the Properties panel. Now, the Properties panel is empty right now, but the Properties panel is pretty powerful. That's a lot of P's. Property panel, pretty powerful. Alliteration. It allows you to, it changes dynamically based on the type of media you have selected. This is where you can control the size, shape, color, and some of the aspects of the media that you have selected. And we'll do a little bit of that as well. And then here at the bottom, we have our timeline, which currently has 2 empty tracks on it, but we'll have more tracks. This is a nonlinear editor, which means there is a timeline and a playhead that'll play along the video as we conduct our video creation process. And we will go through most all of this stuff, maybe not in great depth, but at a level that you can get yourself up and starting with a video. So to start our project, I mentioned we're going to start with content that already exists on my computer. And the way you get it into your computer, there's a couple different ways, but the easiest way is to click this big green button here that says Import Media while you're inside your media bin. So if I click on Import Media, it's going to bring me to a folder that I have on my desktop with a bunch of content in it. This content has a couple different types. I've got some audio. I have some stock footage that I pulled down from the TechSmith asset library, which we can talk about later on today as well. And I have a PowerPoint presentation because so many people like to use their existing PowerPoint presentations and turn them into videos. And this is a great way we can add a little bit of polish and professional aspects to a PowerPoint presentation. So I'm actually going to bring in these items and this last one here that's just a Shutterstock music file, because we're going to bring some music into our lives as well. When I click open here on the window, it's going to import all of that content right into my media bin and organize it for me for this project. So I've got an organization here at the top of video files. I've got an organization section for images. And then as I scroll down, I have a section for audio. So all these parts and pieces are what we're going to use to build our video. But we're also going to use some items that are pre-installed with your version of Camtasia. And those live over here on the left in the library. So when I open up the library and use the drop-down menu, you'll see several user libraries. These are libraries that I've built for projects that I've used. But the one I'm going to focus on is the one here at the top. Now it'll show you whatever version of Camtasia you have. I happen to have the brand new version, Camtasia 2023, and I'm going to click on that and it's going to show you a ton of folders of media. Now, I'm going to open a couple of these, but first, if you're not sure what version of Camtasia you're using, the easiest way to find that is to go up here to the top, to the Help menu, click on Help, then click on About Camtasia, and it'll show you right here at the top what version you are using. I happen to be using version 23.0.1, released earlier this week. Well, it shows last week's date, but it was officially released to the world on Tuesday, the 26th, 25th. I'm losing my mind, the 25th. So if you're not sure what version you're on, that's how you find it, to be able to see what version you have available to you. So a couple things. We're going to start with an introduction to our video, because right now I don't want to just start with a slide or a video. I want to start with some sort of graphic. And I know we have a folder here in the library called Titles. If I click on that and expand it, there is a whole slew of available animated titles. And if you double click on one, it'll just show you what those look like. Let's see here. This will be a preview for it. So it shows what the text looks like, rotating text. That's kind of a fun one. We've used that in a lot of videos. But I know there's one down here called Streamer number 7 that I really like. So I am going to right click on that and choose Add to Timeline at Playhead. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring it down onto my timeline right at the beginning of the playhead. There is a little zoom slider right here above the timeline that I'm going to use to just zoom in a little bit so I can see greater detail. And now, when you play the video back, you'll see what that intro looks like. It says Inspire, Teach, Create, Custom Cursors, Camtasia 2023 Pro Tips. It's this cool animated introduction. I don't have to know anything about animating. I don't have to know anything about anything. I have this cool introduction. Now, the video we're making is just a generic sharing video about sales. I'm not in sales. I don't like conducting meetings, but I like making videos to be able to share those with people so that we don't have to have so many meetings. This intro will work for me, except I need to customize it. Remember when I mentioned a little bit earlier that that properties panel on the right-hand side of the screen changes dynamically depending on what type of media you have selected? Well, in this case, I have this new intro selected, and all of these things on the right show up for me. Every one of those aspects, those word aspects, those text aspects, are customizable. So it said Inspire, Teach, Create. I'm going to change Inspire to monthly. I'm going to change Teach to Sales Team. Well, maybe just Sales. And Create, I'm going to change to the word Chat. And when I do that, if I bring my playhead back over those items, you'll see that those titles have changed based on what I had selected. So monthly, sales, chat. Now I don't need to say custom cursors, so I have a headline here. So we'll change it to quarter two preview. And instead of Camtasia 2023 Pro Tips, I'll change it to Jason's overview. So now I've taken an existing animated introduction and I've customized it for my needs. And it only took a second. I'm not a big fan of these red colors. So you'll notice there are some colorways that are available to you as well. To change any of the colors, you simply use the drop-down menu and you can pick any color in the color wheel that exists. If you have colors on your screen somewhere that you'd like I really like the green in Camtasia. So I'm going to actually use the eyedropper tool and click on that and go grab the green out of the editor. So now there's a wipe that comes in that's green. So sales, chat, quarter two preview. And if I want to, I could change the reds as well. But just in a couple of seconds, I was able to take an existing asset that's in the library, which happened to be under the library under the title sequences. I dragged it down onto my timeline or right-clicked and added to the timeline and did a couple of quick edits in the properties. And I have now made this customized intro that works specifically for my use case. Pretty cool. Pretty cool animation. Mike, you should be able to chat to everybody by using that drop-down menu and changing it to everyone. If not, let us know. We'll see if we can fix it for you. All right, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to bring in some of that media that we've already imported into our media bin, which is up here on the left. So as a reminder, we brought in a PowerPoint presentation. We brought in some stock footage things that I grabbed from the TechSmith asset library, and we've got music. We're going to do the music at the end. But the first thing I'm going to bring in is this animation. This is just a graphic of like stocks being increased. I'm just going to drag it down here onto the timeline and move it right next to that animation so that when the title is done, it's going to bring in this animation. And you'll notice it animates as I'm moving it, but it's a little small for my screen. And that's okay. I can, because I have the canvas available to me, I can manipulate this content by grabbing it and moving it around. I'm actually going to drag it to the upper left-hand corner, and I'm just going to stretch it out until it fits the screen. So now I have a full screen introduction, and I have a full screen animated graphic. Then I can start assembling my video the way I want. So there's some PowerPoint presentation pieces, and these are all the PowerPoint presentation. When you bring it in as a PowerPoint, it actually brings each individual slide in as a still image. So over here on the left, we've got slide number 1, slide number 2, and all I need to do is click on one and drag it down onto the timeline and place it where I want. Because they're a still image, I can have them stay on screen as long as I need by taking my mouse, bringing them down to the edges until the mouse turns into a double-ended arrow, and I can click and drag it to the right to extend it to make it stay on the screen longer, or I can drag it back to the left to have it stay shorter. In this case, I'm just going to drag it out a little bit longer because I can make adjustments throughout our entire presentation. And let's add a couple more slides as well. We'll bring this one in, which is just a generic graph, and we'll grab this percentages as well. We'll make this a really quick, simple video. So we've got an intro, a graph showing a stock increase, so to speak, and then 3 simple graphics. 1 or 2 more things that we want to add to this video. I think I'm going to use one of these stock footages. I have this one because I'm a huge fan of New York City, and I just happened to grab this. I don't know if this New York City footage is going to work, so I don't think I'm going to select that one. There's an overshot here of people working on what looks like businessy type things, but it feels too disjointed to me. I think the one I'm going to use is this one, which looks like, actually kind of looks like one of our office buildings here at TechSmith, where we've got these really gorgeous trees around us where people meet and collaborate around ideas. Now, this isn't actually TechSmithies, but I think it gets the point across. And I think what I want to do is I want to grab that content from my media bin, and I'm going to bring it in, and I'm going to put it between the first slide and that animation that we brought in. So I'm going to drag it down right in the middle of those two. So now I've got my intro, that graph, the team working together, and then we've got our 3 different slides. And I'm just going to zoom back out so I can see more of my project. So in a nutshell, I've got the intro, like we said, and then I think I'm going to do my voiceover here in a minute to talk about what's happening on the screen. But I also want to end the video in a really great way. So I would have some sort of wrap up by using another piece of media that comes free in the library, in the Camtasia 2023 library. And of course, there are library assets in all your other versions as well. Everything in this library, by the way, is royalty free. So there's music in there, there's graphics, there's imagery. Everything that's inside of Camtasia can be used in your videos today. You don't have to get special permission. You can create a video and send it out into the world using that content right away. So let's grab something that we want to use as what I would call an outro. We already built our intro, so let's see what Streamer 8 looks like. Simple. I like that. It's kind of the last half of that Streamer one. So we're going to grab Streamer 8, and we're going to bring it down here onto the timeline. And just like before, while it's selected, I can make some customizations to it using the Properties panel. And the headline is going to be "Thanks for watching. See you in June." And we already know we had a colorway change at the beginning, so I'm going to do the same thing by using the drop-down menu, the eyedropper, and the green selection. So I can use those same elements to have some sort of consistency. I know I left some of the red here at the beginning. We can change that later on. But for right now, we've got these two elements here. Now, I just did a lot of things kind of fast, and we do have this recording available to you later, but let's do a quick recap. The first thing we did was we went to our media bin and we imported content into Camtasia. We clicked that big green button that was here. And by the way, the green button is gone now. So if I wanted to import more content, there's a little plus button down here in the bottom left of the media bin where you can click on that and you can import media directly there as well. We then used an existing intro slide in the Camtasia library underneath titles. We used the titles folder. And I happened to choose streamer number 7, brought that down onto the timeline, made some customizations using the properties panel, and then I inserted several pieces of media along the way into my video. I can adjust these links later on. I can adjust them now. I will do it the way I normally do it. So this is an authentic thing when I do my voiceover here in a minute. And then we created an end slide, an end animation by using another asset from the library. Talked for a little bit here. So this is where I'm actually going to lean on one of our TechSmithies, Robert, and I'm going to say, "Hey, Robert, I'm going to take a quick sip of water. And I wanted to see if there was any questions that might have come in from the group so far that we might be able to answer."
Yeah, there's actually an interesting one about like expanding or shortening changing the length of the title. Sometimes you need a little bit more, sometimes you need a little bit less. I wasn't sure if you'd be able to kind of adjust that title length there.
Yeah, you can. Side note to all my friends here at TechSmith, I fixed the chat. That's completely my fault. You absolutely can post to everybody now. My apologies. So we were talking, Robert, about going into these pre-built animations and making some adjustments. Is that what we're asking about?
Correct. It looks like we'd like to either expand it. Sometimes it's not quite the right length, and we might need a little bit more. So if you kind of open up that group and show what's in there, that might help some.
Yeah. So when we bring in these assets that have a lot of components to it, so these have text, they have motion, they have colorways. These are built inside of Camtasia and they are grouped together. And you'll know they're grouped because on that piece of media down here on the timeline, there's a little plus button that's sitting down here on the bottom left-hand corner. If I click on that plus button, it's going to open a new tab here on the timeline. Let me just stretch this out so you can see it. And inside that tab, it's going to show you all of the components that make up that asset, that make up that media. And each one of these individual things are where you can make adjustments to lengths. You can change how fast the animations are happening. That's a pretty, I would call this a slightly more advanced move, and we can definitely talk more about it later on, but you can go in here and make some adjustments to those things if you want to experiment a little bit. We know that this aspect here, if I click on it, is the little L shape. If I click on this one, it's the titling. If I click on this one right here, it is the actual text itself. But you can make adjustments inside of there, shortening things, lengthening them, changing the speed. All that can be done in there. And when you're done making those adjustments, you just simply close out that tab by clicking the X here on the left, and it takes you back into your editing state. Any other questions before we go into the next portion of today's presentation?
Nope, that's it. We're rocking these questions. Keep them coming.
Excellent. Happy to do that. Cool. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to do the voiceover for this video. So video is made up of several components, but I think one of the most important ones is the audio. If we play this video back, it is visually kind of cool, but there's nothing happening audio-wise. So we're going to bring in two components. We're going to bring in my voice, and we're going to bring in some music. And then we're going to show you how those two work together. So there's different ways to bring in your voice. If you just have Camtasia available to you, which is fine, there is a button over here on the left called Voice Narration. And if you click on that, Camtasia will see what microphones you have plugged into your computer. and you can record your voice by hitting the start voice recording, and it'll create a recording that then is on your timeline. Then you can move around and make adjustments to. If you happen to have our other audio tool called Audiate available to you, you can have a really great experience in making an audio recording as well. This is Audiate. It is a separate product from Camtasia, but they work well together. And I'm actually going to make a recording with Audiate. And I had scripted this, and I don't know if I want to use the script. Yeah, maybe I'll use the script. So I'm going to open up on my other screen over here. I have a script. For those who know me and those who don't, and all the TechSmithies will know this, I don't typically operate on a script. I trust the knowledge that I have, and I read through videos. But that is not everybody's experience. Especially when we make our tutorial videos, we script those and we record them. So the script I've got here is it's literally text. I'll show you. This is what I'm going to be reading from, and I'm going to use this to record into Audiate. If you've never seen Audiate, prepare to be kind of amazed, because it's going to transcribe as I'm reading it. And if I make mistakes, I'm going to just keep going, and I'll show you why. So let's record some audio over this particular video with Audiate. So we'll get our 3, 2, 1 countdown. Hi, everybody. This is Jason with the Customer Success Team. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of our sales goals and results over the past quarter of this year. First and foremost, we're going to be talking about 4 major components throughout the rest of the year. That's our globalization efforts, our team, our onboarding, and different payment methods. And those are represented here on this slide. Overall, our performance has been, well, not too bad. There's some good days and bad days, and there's some opportunity for growth and expansion. My main characters are going to be talking about today our growth. I don't like that. My main goal today is to talk about our growth. We saw a 60% increase in international sales, with 40% in domestic, and then 20% in our new emerging business. If we maintain these numbers, we should be successful. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in June. Take care. So I'm going to hit stop, and that's going to finalize this recording. And you'll notice, or maybe you didn't, because maybe I did an okay job, there is some goof in my recording where I was just kind of not really thrilled with how I spoke. Well, that's where the power of Audiate comes into play, because this video or this audio editor acts like a text document, and I can actually go in and make some deletions. So let's see. I'm going to play back here my main characters. My main characters are going to be talking about today our growth. I don't like that. My main goal today is, so that entire set of sentences, these 3, I don't like them. So I'm going to highlight them and hit delete. And now it's like it never happened. Opportunity for growth and expansion. My main goal today is to talk about our growth. We saw a 60% increase in, okay, so not bad. Audiate allows you to make some really quick edits. It allows you to go up here to the left and see if there's any errors. It looks like I didn't have any errors that it caught, but it can silence all the pauses. So this will give it a nice, crisp, clean recording, which I'm going to do. And then if you're into it, you can come down here to the bottom right-hand corner, and you can make some effects changes. Like you can remove background noise, level your volume, play with your equalizer, all those sorts of things. Today, we're not going to do any of that. We're going to use the recording as is. Now, here's where the magic comes in for me. There's an export button in the upper right-hand corner. And yep, Rachel, this absolutely generates captions right here. You can export the script, and it'll export the captions as well. When you hit the export button, you can save this as a standard WAV file, or you can send it right to Camtasia. So I'm going to click on that, and I can choose whether or not to send it to my media bin or to the timeline, and it can send it to the project that I'm already working on. So I'm going to send it right to the project after I save it. I'm just going to call this JV. So it's going to send it from Audiate to Camtasia. Audiate drops out. It allows me to save my project really quick, and we'll just call this webinar 427, because that's today's date. And then in my media bin, I will have a second audio track. One's the music that we're going to do, which is my spoken word. And to add that to my video, all I need to do is drag it down onto my timeline And now my video has a little bit more personality. Hi, everybody. This is Jason with the Customer Success Team. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of our sales goals and results over the past quarter of this year. So I can make trims and adjustments on the timeline like I did with my media. I can reposition this so that it starts talking when we're actually in the beginning of that intro. I can also see how it lines up with the rest of my video because I talked for a while and it looks like the audio goes right to the end. This might just work out really well out of sheer luck. Let's see. Video, and I'll see you in June. Take care. Cool. So I was able to record my voice using Audiate. If I don't have Audiate available to me, of course, you can use the voice narration tool right here inside of Camtasia. Audiate just gives you the power of like just reading through something and making those quick edits. If you don't know how to edit on an audio file or on WAV file, it doesn't matter. You can literally delete words and sentences. I don't know, it's magic to me, and it makes me a better presenter and a better video content creator when I don't have to worry about goof ups. I can literally delete a sentence. So I was able to add the audio right here into my video. So now that the intro will start matching up with some of what we're talking about here in our video. The third component I want to add is music. I love music in videos. Not everyone is a fan of it. It's kind of it's kind of like if you use Snagit and you put something on your screen and it's got a shadow on it. Some people love shadows, some people don't. I'm team music. I like having music as part of my presentations, but I'm going to show you what typically happens. The music I've chosen, and this is from our asset library, sounds like this. I don't know, Robert. I love it. I love that music. I'm going to bring that music.
So good.
Do you like? I mean, it's kind of poppy, right? It's not too bad. All right, we're going to bring this music down onto the timeline the same way we do with any other media. We click on it, we drag it down on the timeline, and there wasn't a third track there, but as soon as I brought it down, Camtasia made that track for me. Now I want to show you what happens when I play the video back with the music and my spoken word. Hi, everybody. This is Jason with the Customer Success Team. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of our sales goals and results. Okay. I can hear music. I can hear my voice, but man, that music is way too loud for my voice. Now, in the past, I'd go in and adjust the levels of the music down here, but I'm not going to do that. There is an easier way, and it's simple. We have a tool over here in our tool bin called Audio Effects. And inside there's something called Emphasize. Emphasize Audio allows you to drag this tool down onto your spoken word, which for me is on track number 2. And when I drop it on there, it shows up over here in the properties panel, and it allows me to emphasize that track, the spoken word, over the music. It can also tell you when you want the when you want to emphasize the spoken word by where it ramps up. And you can have it happen before you start talking, while you're talking, or after the talking starts. I use this one called span, which means the music's going to kind of fade down a little bit, but my voice is going to stay prevalent. Watch this. See if you can notice the difference between this. Hi, everybody. This is Jason with the Customer Success Team. And when I have emphasize turned on. Hi, everybody. This is Jason with the Customer Success Team. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of our sales goals and results over the past quarter of this year. So the music is still there. I can still hear my voice. It gives the experience that I want, which is kind of this poppy, cool feeling. And I can still present my content. I use this all the time, all the time. One thing I do want to have you notice, though, is when I put that music track on the timeline, it goes well past my recording. The easiest way to fix that is to take my mouse to the end of the music, click on it, and drag it to the left so that it trims it down till pretty close to the end. I like to get it kind of close to the end. So there's a little bit of music after what we're talking about. Then, while my audio effects are still open, I choose the fade out option, and I click and drag it down onto the end of the music, and you'll see this little graphic that shows a starting point of that fade, then it fades out over time. Let's see what that looks and sounds like here. New emerging business. If we maintain these numbers, we should be successful. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in June. Take care. And it fades out. I don't know, I kind of think I want the emphasize to be a little bit more. So I'm going to click on my spoken word. Its default is an 80% emphasis. I actually am going to bump it up a little bit so I'm a little louder. And then 20% in our new emerging business. Cool. Now we have a video that's looking pretty good. There's still some other things I'd like to do. And these are some of the most common things people use Camtasia for. You'll notice as we switch from this graphic to this one, it looks okay because there's motion to them. But these are still images. They're just PowerPoint slide images. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to add a little bit of a movement, some transition to these. I can do that by going over to the left to our transitions tool, which is over here on the left. And when I click on that, you open up the transitions menu, and there's like over 125 transitions in here. So you could scroll through all the ones we have, or if you know of the style you would like, there is a drop-down menu here at the top that allows you to pick different types, like if you want a blur or a 3D. I like some of our newer wipe ones. There's one in here called bar wipe, which I actually have starred. Anything that you star, by the way, by hovering over it and clicking on the star in the right-hand corner, shows up in your favorites menu over here on the left. So if you have some aspects of Camtasia that you love and you like to use a lot, you can favorite those as well. But you'll see bar wipe is in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to drag it down on my timeline, and you'll see all these yellow spots on the timeline on my media. Yellow shows you where that particular effect can be applied. If you drag it to the left, it'll apply it on the beginning. If you drag it to the right, it'll apply it to the end. Or if you drag it right in the middle, it'll apply it to the beginning and the end. So for me, I'm going to drag it to the end of this one so it wipes away from the people to my slide. And then I'm going to add it to the other slides as well so that there's consistency in how that looks. So with a couple of clicks and drags, we've actually added some animation, some movement that gives a little bit more character to this video. Now there's a lot more we can do, and I still have plenty of time. So this is where I'm going to go to you again, Robert, and I thank you for helping me with this and all of our TechSmithies in the background, who, by the way, at this point have answered over 70 questions. So please keep them coming. Robert, what kind of questions can we talk about here in our editing process?
Actually, it's perfect because Rachel has had a really good question about having audio dip in and out. So about adding additional audio points. So maybe I noticed that in between those slides, you've got a couple of like breaks in the audio or breaks in your narration. Like how might you be able to adjust the volume with audio points, customize your dips in and out?
Sure. So what we're saying is right now, when we applied that emphasize audio to my spoken track, that stays in the entirety of that piece of media. So there's a couple of different ways that you can create a little bit more dynamicness, I would say. And that is whenever you hover or click on a piece of media down here on the timeline that has audio, you'll notice this green line that shows up. In fact, we saw the green line get affected later on when we added that fade out. It added this, which is called an audio point, this little green dot. You can add those wherever you would like by double clicking on that green line and adding audio dots, audio points. My goodness. And then when those are created, you can actually drag parts of that audio down to create fades. For this one, I would probably do it in the middle here. I would actually drop it out. You could fade out your spoken word, which then should affect the emphasization of the other audio. Or to really utilize that emphasize audio even more, you could split this media and space it out a little bit, which will take a natural ramp up. That's the way you would do it. The way I happen to read this text, the way I read this script, it's not going to really serve us really well to duck that audio back out to create that, but you could create audio points that way to create some fade points.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We've got another great one here from Khan. They'd like to know if we could talk about the order of tracks and how it might affect what's visible in front, behind, etc., and like whether it matters whether it's only video or only audio on a track or not. Just kind of explain the process of that timeline in those tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So the tracks, which we have down here, track 1, 2, and 3. By the way, pro tip, you can rename these tracks by right-clicking on them and choosing rename. So I know on track 1, I'm going to say is my, I'll just call this slides. Wow, I can't type today. Slides. I can rename track 2 and call that my voiceover or VO, and then I could rename track 3 to music so that I can at a glance know what is on each track. That's just helpful. What you're talking about is the Z order. So we know what the X-axis is, we know what the Y-axis is. The Z-axis is how we talk about order of tracks, which, as the question was asked, indicates what's visible and what's not visible. Right now, audio has no visual component to it. So the audio can be on pretty much any track, and it's not going to affect what's above it or below it. Where we have the challenge is if we were to go back over to our media, and right now we have the group here working in this footage. If I wanted to add this New York footage and I drag the footage onto track number 4, the moment the playhead hits it, it's going to take precedent because it is the highest track. So everything up here blocks out what's happening below it. So if you have anything that you want to use in a particular order, you can place things on top of other things. So we're going to delete that. The way that really works in Camtasia most often is when people use tools called callouts. We call them annotations. Over on the left-hand side, there is a menu called annotations. And this is where a lot of people tend to also utilize Camtasia. And that is using callouts. So callouts are everything from speech bubbles to arrows to blurred areas to highlights. So if I wanted to bring in something like an arrow, let's bring in a really bold red arrow. If I drag that onto my timeline or onto the canvas, you'll see it shows up as a piece of media, and immediately it's visible because it is on top of everything else. It doesn't obscure the entire screen because it's sized so small. But if I were to move this to a track below my slides, it would be hidden. Or if I happen to bring in another call out, which is now on top of this arrow, you can see them both because they occupy different spots. But if I drag that over the arrow, because this piece of media is above this one, it takes precedent and it is what you see first. So there's a lot of nuance to it and a lot of different ways you can experiment with these call outs. Absolutely. So I hope that answered his question. Yeah, the cake analogy. So Melissa I have a cake analogy. So if you have a birthday cake and you're looking at the top of the cake on the table and you can see the beautiful decoration on the top, that's all you can see. You cannot see the layers. You cannot see the flavoring that's below it. If you then change your perspective and look at the cake from the side and cut into it and move a slice out, that's how you can see the layers. That's what the timeline looks like. Each one of those layers of the cake is the layer of your video, and you always are looking at a cake or a video top down. Thanks for that, Melissa. Forgot about that. I haven't used that analogy in forever. What else do we have, Robert? Any other ones that have come in so far?
Those look like they're the big ones at the moment. I do know that I've seen a couple of times people have asked the name of that particular audio file that you downloaded. Do you happen to recall what that was on the asset store? If not, that's okay.
The cool song that I picked out here?
Yeah, because folks are liking that song.
I don't, but I bet I can find it. I'll find it later. Remind me. I will look for that. I looked Absolutely. Up, I think on the asset library. By the way, if you're in the library here and you want to download more assets, you can click this download more assets button at the bottom, which does take you to the Camtasia asset library on our website. There are free assets, but there is a paid subscription that gives you over 20 million. There's so much stuff in here. All I did at that point is I went to audio, I went to music, and I believe I went to happy and cheerful corporate, believe it or not. Let me see if I can re-find it. It's one of these. I'd have to figure out, is it the Among the Globe? That's it, found it. This is it. How awesome. So you can use this if you have a premium subscription, but I'll put the link here in the chat. That's exactly the one that I used. I can't believe I found that. That's amazing. There's lots more we can talk about as far as editing, but I want to show you something else that I find really powerful, and that is, let's pretend this video is done. I made this video. The idea for making this video was to give it to my team because I dislike having meetings, because I think they are expensive, right? To get all the people you need in a meeting at one time, can you imagine how much their time actually costs? Where you can potentially share a video out, let people consume that video and maybe ask questions in a asynchronous way. I'm working from my home office, and a lot of our TechSmithies in this call are either at our headquarters or at their home offices. So we tend to share videos. And the way you share a video in Camtasia could not be easier. In the upper right-hand corner, there's an export button. When you click on that, you're presented with several options. The most common option that people use is they export it as a local MP4. So then they upload that to different services, or they put it on a shared drive. We have all kinds of other options, but the one I use most often with my team is ScreenCast. So ScreenCast is a TechSmith tool that allows you to share content up to the cloud. And it puts it in a position. We're going to render this video out because it's short, and we're going to share it. It puts it up on ScreenCast and allows you to then share that link, and you can actually have engagement around that video on ScreenCast. You can have people comment in line, they can ask questions, they can have a discussion back and forth. They can call out things like, maybe I'm going to send this to Melissa and Robert and say, hey guys, does this look like, am I accurate in this before I send it to the whole team? They can give me feedback on that video so that I can make adjustments before I send it out into the world. So the speed of how fast something renders on your computer outside of Camtasia, by the way, a lot of factors in there. How powerful is your machine? How complex is your video? What other aspects do you have going on? So this is going to render already done, and it's uploading to screencast.com right now. And it's going to actually give me a link that I'm going to post in the webinar backend, or in the webinar chat here, for everyone to take a look at this video. So it is processing online, but this is what happens. It gets sent up to screencast.com, and we'll see if it processes by the time we're done with our session. But that is the direct link to it, and everybody can take a look at that when they, oh, it's going really fast actually, so it might be done. So while this is processing, which it's processed right here, you don't have to have a ScreenCast account to engage with this, but the video here is here, and you play the video back, and wherever the playhead is on the video, like if we play the playhead to here, and people are watching the video, they can make comments in line of the video to ask questions, add clarification, poke fun at me. All these sorts of things happen in the real world. So as the video is rendering and loading, you'll be able to do that on screencast.com. And somebody's already added a heart. Somebody already gave me some feedback. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to leave this rendering for right now. Question from Laura: are the screencast links private to only those you share it with? Yes, they are shared with, I mean, if they're private in that if you share it with 10 people, those 10 people have access to that link. There is capabilities within some of our other tools to make them private. Privacy methods here: if you're the content creator, you can send it to only people with the link, which hides it from search engines. You can hide it from everybody and just make it for you. You can password protect it if you want. There's lots of different ways that you can control that content. So just so you know. All right, I've talked about a lot of things at a really high level, which is what these getting started sessions are about. I'd love to go back to the room and see if there's any other questions that have come in about any of the process that we went through before. If you want to see something again, if you have questions about how Camtasia works. I do want to tell you, one, thanks for being here. We're not done yet, but when you do leave this webinar, we do offer up a 1-minute 4-question survey that we love for people to fill out, because it helps us build out more webinar sessions and design ones that are around the things that you'd like to learn. So thanks for filling that out in advance. If you're ever stuck inside of Camtasia, by the way, you can go up here to the help menu and choose video tutorials. That'll take you right to the TechSmith website, right to our tutorials that our team builds. So you hear some familiar voices, mine, Ryan's, Chandra's, those are all available to you. You also have a link to those aforementioned projects, which are those free walkthrough projects where you can learn how to do things step by step with other members of TechSmith here. And you also have access to our entire webinar library, which is possibly how you found our webinar today. Quick note, looking for previous webinars button here allows you to go through the entire history of our webinars over the past year and a half. And those webinars are available for you to watch. You can share. And the page isn't loading. There we go. You can also filter if you just want to learn about Camtasia things, if you just want to learn about getting started. In the past couple months, we've done a few of these getting started sessions. In fact, this is the first version of that that's a little different from those. So, all right, back to the questions. Robert, was there anything else that came in that you saw of note that we could address while we're finishing up here?
Seeing anything in particular, although I do see Janie would like to take a look at the comment review function again being on ScreenCast. That is just a ScreenCast specific feature, but it is pretty darn cool if you ask me.
So as the video is going through, I can see that there's been comments made. Detailer3 did a little high five or wave here. Thanks for doing that. I can always give a thumbs up to that. Robert, I can see there's some spots in here. I can respond directly to Robert and say, hey, thanks. And there's also a screen drawing capability where I can do commentary within this as well, because he wrote an arrow that says strategy. So I can create comments over here to my own videos. I can draw on the screen and say, this doesn't look like an approved laptop. And now my comment lives in there as well. So this is where we have ongoing conversations and communications around content. Screencast.com, it's free. You have unlimited images available for storage, and you have up to 25 videos at any given time. If you need more than 25 at a time, there is a paid tier, but I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to teach you and get you inspired about Camtasia. Let's see. Melissa asks, if I upload a video, how hard is it to trim it? Meaning, if you upload a video to a service for people to view, the video that's up there is what it is. While it's still in Camtasia, you can edit it to your heart's content because it gets saved as a Camtasia TechSmith project file, which means you can always make changes to it. And every time you export it, it exports a current version of that video, depending on what you wanted. Like, for example, someone was like, let's say this, these aren't updated numbers. Well, and they send me a new slide deck and I can insert a new image. That happens all the time where videos get made with content that's out of date and it needs to be updated. As long as you still have the project file, you can update this to your heart's content and reshare those videos out into the world. Rachel asked the question, when you purchase the full version, do you get access to more items in the library or do you have to purchase an additional subscription? So Rachel, when you purchase Camtasia, you have everything in the Camtasia 2023 library here. Everything from there's glyphs and icons, there's hand-drawn expressive things, there's these brand new things that are dynamic backgrounds. These are sweet. You can adjust all the colors for these and make adjustments as well. Everything that's in this library is free. If you go to download more assets and you don't have a subscription, if you click on something, like let's click on this titles, there is a filter over here on the left. There's a premium filter and a starter filter. If you deselect premium and click apply, all of these items are available to you at no cost. And what's awesome is you can hover over it. And if you want one of these like intro titles, these are those animations we were using before, you can actually just click this little green arrow and boom, it sends it right to Camtasia. And it shows up in your drop-down menu under your downloads. So this is that one we were just looking at on the screen. Now I've got in Camtasia. I literally drop it into place and make my adjustments. Oh my gosh, I'm running out of voice, which means we've been doing a lot of talking. So this is pretty cool. Walt asks, if you recorded a webinar from a vendor and would like to start with basic changes such as removing noise, background comments, adding pictures, or getting rid of some of the scenes or mistakes, what training is best to watch, or can you show an example? So here's the thing. If you are bringing in a recording from a webinar, it is an MP4. It's a video file, right? And the way that is it's pretty baked in. You can add things on top of it, like images or music. Background audio removal on something that you didn't record is a little tricky. We do have in the audio effects tab noise removal, which would need you to play that video back a little bit. There's guidance on that to shows to select a section of the video where nobody's talking, so it's just picking up background noise, so white noises, fans, traffic noise, stuff like that. If you didn't record the video, it's a little tricky, but there's ways to mitigate it a little bit here and there to make it a better experience for all. Hope that answers that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're kind of at the end. So what I wanted to do was bring up our last slide here, and I'll stay on for a minute or two more for some further questions. And the last slide is very simple, and it's simply a thank you for being here. We appreciate it. You're going to get an email in the next 24 hours that's going to have a link to this recording, or if you watch that webinar recording page, I will probably have this up here in a couple hours. I'll do the editing and get it up there and ready for you to watch. That's how you can consume that content. But like I said, you'll get a link to that. If you're able to fill out the survey, we really appreciate it. That's how my team and I develop these webinars. I, of course, want to thank Dave and Jake, Melissa, Mike, and Robert for being a part of today's session and helping out. We really appreciate that. And Mia was here, but I think Mia dropped off. Any other final questions, Robert, before we say thank you and have a wonderful it's Thursday?
Right, it is Thursday. It's almost the weekend, but no, it looks like everything is going good here. I think we've got it all. Thank you very much, Jay.
Cool. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We appreciate it. Thanks for being a part of today's webinar. Sign up for as many more as you want. There's a ton more coming out. Specialized ones, learn one new thing sessions that are small, condensed, half hour or less about specific parts of Snagit and Camtasia. If you want to see a webinar on something specific, let us know in that survey link. I have taken many an idea from lovely folks like you who gave us great ideas. So with that, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Have a great balance to your Thursday. Take care.